you probably already know this, but I thought I would take time, for those who don't, to explain why Blade is the greatest vampire hunter of all time. And it's not even close. Like, it's not even close. Okay? Now, of course, Blade was born to kill vampires. I mean, he wasn't like recruited into this. He wasn't initiated. He was literally forged in a blood ritual that went wrong. Okay? And, you know, this is his mother being attacked while giving birth. He became a living weapon. This is the Daywalker. Again, all the vampire strengths, none of their weak healing, enhanced senses, none of their weakness. None of the sunlight, isn't susceptible to mind control, right? And he doesn't just dwell in, you know, garlic. And Blade is the holy weapon. Like, he is the main get down. And I'm going to explain why. Like, Blade really set it off and just separated himself from other vampires. Like, first off, let's go back and let's just focus on movie Blade. Let's just focus on the MCU Blade, 1998, right? Steps into the vampire scene, and he slaughters like 40 plus vampires right off the bat, right? Like in the first Blade, he's calm, he's efficient, he was brutal. And this scene where he comes into, you know, into the rave, right? That wasn't an accident. Like, we were telling you who he was going to be all about. I know you've seen a lot of other vampire hunters, and they might get one or two. I'm even giving Jack Crow his props. His crew went in. They got maybe like a half dozen zombies, you know, half dozen vampires that night. So I'm gonna give you guys your prop. But that still ain't nothing on Blade. You're nothing on Blade. Like, just across the 3 films, we have at least 200 confirmed vampire killings. Okay, like, let's just be real. Like, this is where he's coming at. I don't know what your count is. For anyone else who's, you know, a vampire killer, Van Helsing, we'll talk about him. Jack Crow, we'll talk about him. I'll talk about Blood Rain, but I'm just letting you know that in this regard, like, nobody's come out of the box like Blade. He's faced versions of Dracula, Reapers, vampire gods, undead corporations. Like, you know, if we're just talking about the film, like, his whole body of work as the vampire killer going into the comic books, right? Blade is really way out there. And because Blade is also one of the most versatile, if not the most versatile vampire slayer of all time. This is really what elevates Blade to another level, because Blade can easily adapt technology and science into his game. Blade has worked himself into having some, despite not having a great personality, he's worked himself into having some incredible connections, right? He gets supplied by S.H.I.E.L.D., right? He's got access to Reed Richards at times. He's got access to Doctor Strange. So he's got some very powerful allies. So with that in hand, given his own setup, like, I'm going to explain why Blade, there's no vampire situation that Blade can't handle. Like, I absolutely believe this, right? Okay, but let's just look at Blade and how Blade is built differently first. Like, I wanted to compare him to some of the most notable, like, recent vampire killers, including Blood Rain, Jack Crow, Blood Jablonski, and Buffy, right? Let's talk about these in relation to him, okay? On every single one of them, Blade destroys them in strength. Blade is it's literally supernaturally strong. Blood Rain's enhanced. Jack Crow is human. Jablonski's human. Buffy is enhanced, okay? Now, Buffy and her whole crew, they're kind of on a different, because they have a whole organization that's getting vampires. So her number is really high as well. I'm going to give her that. Blood Rain, we've seen you get, you know, a nice body count. You know, Jack Crow, you know, we're going to estimate your number. You got a long history. Who knows with Van Helsing? I'm assuming he's pretty high. But in terms of, like, his solo capability, okay, he's the apex predator going solo on this. Blood Rain can probably go off by herself. Maybe Buffy a little bit. You can go on some solo missions. But really, you know, you really got to be, like, careful. You got to pick and choose those battles, okay? Also, let's really get into it and say, like, in terms of speed, he's superhuman. Like, we've seen, he's a lot closer to true vampire abilities, even though him and Blood Rain are both hybrids, right? I guess because of that blood ritual, he's got a whole lot more. And Blade can always be enhanced. Healing factor, he slays all of them. So, like, he's way outside of his competition in that regard. Like, comparing him to Van Helsing, like, Van Helsing, you're immortal. Like, at the end of the day, you got old quick. Buffy, like, you don't have the durability, like, you know what I'm saying? I just, you know, I dig her, you know, the Belmonts, yeah, you know, their strength and their bloodline really carries it, but Blade is like an entire legacy in one man. Jack Crow is very cool. He's got a squad, he's got some tech. But Blade is the squad, and like Blade's just on a whole nother level, and like Jablonski, so like he just out way ahead of all the competition, just on all the markers. Like Blade's been around since 1973 in the comics. It spawned the first successful Marvel franchise, anime series, video games. Like he's fought everybody from Dracula to Deadpool, right? He doesn't miss anybody. He catches all bodies, right? And you just think in the movies like what he faced in those vampires. Deacon Frost as the blood god, bodied. Jared Nomak, right, the hybrid, bodied. Okay, Dracula himself, right, who got Blade's respect, bodied. He figured out a way. Like viruses, like he's all up on it. So his versatility, how he can work and craft himself with teams, like that's really the appeal of Blade that we don't always see on display. He dropped on the scene in 1998 and like really changed, the movie cinema. Like he made heroes cool, and this is why. He really came through with it. So he isn't just the best vampire. This is like the ultimate vampire hunters. And they're, look, we appreciate what everybody else is doing in this battle against vampires, but look, let it be known that there's a pecking order to this. Now I'm gonna compare Blade in the next video to the most iconic vampires out there and how he brings each one of them down. I'm going to give you scenarios, so check that out. But always give me your thoughts on this. Who you think the top vampire slayer of all time is? I'm telling you it's Blade, and I'm not biased in any way at all. I'm absolutely not biased with this name Blade. But give me your thoughts, and as always, hit that like and subscribe.